Okay, well, we'll give it another few seconds. All right. Thank you all for staying. Thank you for giving us a quorum so we can finally do this meeting. I call this meeting to order on behalf of the Church Council. Pastor will lead us in an opening prayer.
Heavenly Father, gathered as your people, now send us the Holy Spirit with wisdom and unity and guidance as we look forward as a congregation. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay. So y'all are in a little bit of trouble because I've been working with the Synod on updating our Constitution and bylaws, and I've probably read the Constitution and bylaws way more times than any president in the last 20 years before me. So I know I read it more now than I did last time I was president. But we're going to move forward on try to play by the rules a little bit better as we go forward. I will begin by entertaining a motion to adopt the minutes of last year's annual meeting as published. Are there any corrections or discussion on that matter? Moved by Anita Marlin. Second by Sally Weiland. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I would also like to, I should have done this first. I would like to also entertain a motion to adopt the agenda that is published for this meeting with flexibility. When you publish an agenda a month, or more than a month before a meeting, could I have such a motion, please? Moved by Larry, second by Gary, with extra emphasis on flexibility. Any discussion? Flexibility, you'll find out. Gary Murtaugh. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, President's report. It's written out, but I want to do a little bit of updating of the update because, like I said, because of weather and when things were written, and there's been some movement on things. Oh, Miriam, sorry. Just the sign up. Oh, the sign up. Yeah, the sign up sheet is going around. Make sure you sign up so we have a record of who's here. So I want to update a few things. First of all, the website, Council is going to be discussing Tuesday night, revisiting having a company who designs and manages websites make some updates to our website. We're going to revisit that issue at the urging of Arlene. And she's actually kind of trying to work us a deal. So that you'll be hearing more about that going forward. So just to let you know that it says in my report that we kind of put that on hold, but we may be moving forward with that. With respect to the MET, the Mission Exploration Team, I know I've thanked the people of that team numerous times. They are yeoman workers. They are almost finished with their writing. They are completing the mission site profile. That will be the document that describes our ministry and our search for a pastor, what we're looking for in a pastor. And then they will pass that along, both to council and to synod and to you all. The goal for the MET is to get that mission site profile approved at our March council meeting. Following that, we will provide copies. We will send it to the synod office. We will then also put out advanced copies for you all to look at. And then we will formally present that mission site profile to the congregation at a town hall meeting that's already been scheduled with the bishop and his assistant for April 21st, Sunday, after service. There will be a chance to make some final comments or questions about it. And then simultaneously with that, we're hoping to elect a call team or a call committee this Tuesday night. And we want to try to get those folks trained, if you will, or get their direction from Synod, maybe even prior to that town hall meeting, so that as soon as they have candidates for us, that team would be ready to start interviews and help us select a new pastor. So things are moving fast. Sally. Anybody else need a sign-up sheet? Everybody signed up? I didn't, but that's okay. I'll do that later. Okay. So that's exciting. And I want to thank the people who have been working, who worked last summer to get data ready for the mission exploration team, and have helped and prayed for them and the work that they have done. And also ask that you continue to pray for that call team once it's assembled, and that we have a successful process and call the right person for this place. Another thing that I wanted to emphasize a little bit is our campus plan. For years, we've talked about the outdoor space and using our outdoor space to greater benefit. We have a lot of land here. Our primary goals are really to kind of utilize the land to enhance our ministry. Right now it's a lot of empty space that we're not doing anything with. We'd like to unify some spaces. We kind of have the memory garden way over there, and we have, parking over here and this over there. So we want to try to unify, kind of have a plan to bring some of that together. We also want to update our current landscaping. And to do all that, rather than just, well, we're going to build a gazebo, and where are we going to put it? Well, let's put it over here. We feel like it's best to have some professional services and to do a professional design. So Ron Reichert has put together a committee. Some of you all participated in their group brainstorming and got some ideas about what things we might do with our land. They have researched companies to do a land audit and develop a site plan. They're in the process. They've completed reviewing references, and they've got some bids coming in. So that's moving forward in a very conscious, planned, measured way. Ultimately, I'm hoping that our new pastor would also be coming into that process and having some input into what that final design looks like. The company that is near the top right now of candidates is proposing like 2 different options for the congregation to review, and so we will be looking forward to that. We haven't budgeted for this process, so we'll be looking for donations. We'll be looking for maybe some fundraising. We'll be looking for some sources of revenue. We will certainly, when it comes to implementing the plan, be doing a phased approach. Like, okay, right now we're going to build this, or we're going to create that, and then we'll move forward in that way as we have the funds to implement the plan. Ron, how did I do?
That was awesome.
All right, is there anything else you wanted to add?
The only thing I would add is just that we have also a subcommittee for signs that's a little bit different. It's not a part of the whole design process, but it's going to be a part of that. And we also have, it doesn't take a designer to really kind of talk about or look at, but we have a lot of plants and trees that
Very overgrown, large things.
that we think as a congregation that we can eliminate and will actually look much better even without it. So we're looking at putting together pictures of everything in terms of the whole area and identify areas we can remove, even as a congregation, whether it's getting a couple chainsaws with a team out here and carrying wood away. So there's some things that we can do beyond just having the full design, just while
Right.
along the way. So those are kind of the three key
Yeah, and they've done other work for other churches too. Yeah, we said, well, it's kind of pricey, and they actually came back and lowered their bid. So those are all good things. We always like that.
Yeah, and the only thing I would say too is that we decided not to go with design build, because if you do design build, then they want you to build everything right away.
Right.
And we're not ready to do that.
Right.
We want a master plan that will outlive us, and, you know, because we know that we're not gonna do everything all at once. So we decided to just go with the design only at this point.
Right. So we'll have to pay up front for a design, but then we will have the flexibility to build it as we can afford it. Whereas with the design build companies, oh, we'll do the design for free, but then you have to build it, and they want you to build it right away. And we can't come up with that kind of money. So that's why the approach that we're taking. Are there any questions about that? Okay. Thank you, Ron, and thank you to your groups and committees. In the near term, as I alluded to at the beginning, we are going to be updating our Constitution. That is recommended as part of the transition process. It's such a wonderful task. It's been put on the back burner for almost a year. But it's important to update our Constitution to bring it into conformity with the model Constitution for congregations from the ELCA. Since we have last updated our Constitution in 1990, there have been two major revisions of the Constitution format in 2005 and in 2020. So we are woefully behind in this. I have been working with Pastor Sarah Stobie, who's the secretary of the synod. She's an assistant to the bishop. And we have been drafting the necessary revisions. And she has got them now for a final review, and will be getting back to me real soon. And once they are done and passed by council, we will publish them, and we will schedule a meeting 30 days after they are published, a special meeting of the congregation to ratify those changes. So that will be coming up, so kind of watch your emails for notifications about that meeting and copies of the draft Constitution, updated Constitution. It's not a lot of fun, but it's really probably a good thing to have some of these things in our Constitution that have not been in there for a long time. Anybody have any questions about that? Anybody want to help me with that? No, I know, we're fine. I was just kidding. And then finally, I guess wanted to lift up in the year ahead, we're going to continue our faithful innovations experiments, listening to God and one another in our neighborhood and being present in our wider community. And we've got some ideas that the council's going to look at Tuesday night. We're developing some ideas like including sharing stories of faith at a local pub, and finding ways to help the local school district deal with the mental health concerns of teens in our midst. The CDC report, as Pastor spoke about in his sermon about a month or so ago, says some very alarming things about teens and depression and mental illness, and teen suicide that, as people of God, I don't think we can ignore. So we've been meeting with school district officials, and we're going to see if there's something that we can do to be a part of our community in that regard. So we'll be looking for you all to participate. And I'm going to say it one more time. All you people who didn't go to the Christmas tree lighting missed out. So when we have some of these things, please consider joining us and being a part of these opportunities to be present in our community, to hear and be God's people among our neighbors. I think that's probably enough for now. Are there any questions for me? Yes.
Whatever is any results of filing of online survey?
The Met survey?
Yeah.
They have analyzed all of those results, and they have used that information to complete their to write the mission profile. They are done with that process. They've used that information plus information from the history events, those kind of history listening events, and they felt that was sufficient information to complete the profile based on what they had. So they are done with that process. And I want to thank everybody. We had pretty good participation in that survey, so thank you for giving us your input on that. All right. I propose that we do, as we've done in recent years, committee reports in the format. Is there anything that people have questions or concerns about any of the committee reports as presented in your packet? Are there any leaders of those, or any writers of those reports that have anything they want to add? Anita?
I just wanted to emphasize in the worship and music thing that we really could use a few more ushers. Right now, we have 4 teams, that means once a month. In the past, we've had like up to 10, 12 teams. And it is easier if you're not every 4 weeks up for ushering.
Yeah, and we'll work this communion thing out. I have a feeling there's going to be meetings about that this week. All right, we got a plan. Well, we'll entertain plans. But we really could use, I just want to say in a general way, in response to Anita, yeah, we need ushers. A lot of times, I don't want to be rude, but we say y'all come and y'all don't. So that broader invitation is looked at as, oh, somebody will do it. I want y'all to think about those broader invitations as, oh, they're asking me. Is this something I can commit to right now? And if it's not, that's fine. But if it is, please say yes. Okay? There were other hands. Oh, sorry, Anita's not finished. I'm sorry for interrupting.
The other issue is signing up. We've got sign-up sheets on the kiosk for both communion assistants and readers. Now, readers doesn't seem to be much of a problem that people are doing. But communion assistants, there rarely is somebody signed up beforehand. So,
Right.
I mean, it used to be Pastor Mary, she knew everybody.
And she would,
okay, will you help,
yeah, Pastor, yeah.
He's not in that position. So, yeah. Yeah, we're kind of forcing him into that. So if you can sign up a couple weeks ahead of time, that would be great. That's all.
Okay, other hands. Sally.
I was just going to add, we only have 4 teams of counters, and people want...
Well, and we only have 4 teams of cleaners.
Right, cleaners, counters. I am happy to tell, and the counting is not that difficult, and we would pair any new person up with someone who knows what they're doing.
Right.
I only have the schedule made up through March, so you can still sign up.
Yeah. 4 is not a magic number we enjoy.
I was going to say that it probably is time to do a meeting, like a retraining too. I think people just assume that everybody knows what they're doing and people have different ideas. And I know with the counters, we're going to do some we're going to do that. But, I don't know, it's been a long time.
There's a couple people who
Yeah.
sign up for ushers.
Right. And then also it goes, I think, Tom, we talked about this too, just as the new members we talked about, right? There used to be a packet. I don't know who's working on that, but as people come in our
Me. And it's done.
Oh, good. Okay, so that new people know what the options are and what is, what to do, because I think we've had some class.
We will be reviewing that on Tuesday. All right. Any other questions for the committee or any other statements for committee people? Okay. Special committee report, same thing. Any questions for Anita about memorials? Okay. Pastor's report.
Nothing except thank you for letting me be here. So that's all.
I wholeheartedly agree. Thank you for everything you've done, for embracing us as who we are, for helping me to walk through this process, for helping the Met to walk through this process, for your observations about things and your little hints along the way that get me moving on things, and your kind manner and your loving heart. Thank you. So, speaking of thank yous, it's me again. So 2023 was a really successful year for our family. I didn't purposely in my annual report list the names of people I wanted to thank because I knew for sure I would leave at least 20 people out. So I want to start out thank yous by thanking all of you. We accomplished so much last year. We did so much last year, last summer, without a full-time pastor. It amazes me how much of a gift you all are to our ministry. And I just want to thank you all for all of your contributions, even if it was just bringing a dish to pass at one of last summer's community picnics. All of those things contribute to our ministry and help us to be who we are and to do what we do here. So thank everyone. Let's do a blanket thank you. And then I am going to venture into the road of thanking people who are by name or by category here. I do want to thank, as I alluded to earlier, the Met and our office administrator, Larry, for all the extra work related to the pastoral transition to this point. It was an intense summer of lining up supply pastors and doing the work of the church. So I thank Larry for that. And like I said earlier, the Met has done just an outstanding job. So thank you to them. I would like to especially thank members of council who have decided to stay on. I'm sorry, I didn't think that would be emotional. Having done this job before, I know how quickly people run when their term is up. And Brad Nelson and Margot Greer and April Gunther are not doing that. They are re-upping for another term. So thank you for that. And then there's a couple of individuals that I want to thank. And like I said, I started with that blanket thank you to everyone, and I'm sure there are other things that I'm missing. But there are individuals that I want to thank. I want to single out a couple of people for their dedication to this ministry. The first of which is Sally Weiland. She does so much behind the scenes to keep this ministry humming and running smoothly. She has been a trusted advisor and partner with me in leading this transition process. I don't think I could be doing this without her. In addition to all of that, since September, she's assumed all of the outreach responsibilities for both of the council positions with the departure of Pastor Steve and then the resignation of Cheryl in September. So she has done so much. Where are you? Where are you, Sally? You have done so much for me, and I thank you. So come on up. Come on, Sally. Come here.
Before I sit down, you guys, we have to thank Tom because he's gone so far. You can sit down one without me. Back at you, Tom.
All right. And then finally, I would like to thank Jim Benson. He has been our treasurer for a really long time. Is it 5 years or is it 4? It's at least 4. It might be 5. I was trying to figure it out and couldn't. So that's how long it's been. And we all know that that is not an easy job, and sometimes it's a thankless job. So it's important to say thank you to you. In addition to the length of your term, you oversaw the transition to the Power Church accounting software, which meant 1 year you were doing double the books, the old way and the new way. so that we could monitor the finances more closely. So, Jim, thank you for your dedication and your service. And there's a little gift certificate in here. You can take your lovely bride out for something to eat, okay? Come on up. Hey, it's his gift certificate. He can do what he wants with it. All right. Okay. That's what I have for thank yous right now, unless I think of something later. Congregational elections. I request a motion to suspend the constitutional requirement for written ballots. They're all going, what? I request a motion to suspend the constitutional requirement for written ballots and proceed with elections via voice vote. Do I have such a motion? Moved by Sally Weiland. Do I have a second? Kat. Are there any discussion about that? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Council elections. The following are candidates for open positions: Brad Nelson, Margot Greer, April Gunther, Dave Chappelle, and Tracy Hahn. How this works in our Constitution, you all just elect people, and the council technically elects and appoints them to their positions. If you want to know what those positions are going to be, I can share that Brad will continue on buildings and grounds. Margot will continue on faith formation. April will continue as our secretary. Dave Chappelle will become our treasurer. And Tracy Hahn will become citywide outreach or local outreach. She and Sally are in negotiations. Yes?
Treasurer is no longer a council position.
That's not legal. Treasurer is a council position, but we can say that the treasurer is not required to come to monthly meetings. The treasurer needs to be a member of the council, and the treasurer needs to be an officer of the church by Wisconsin law. Okay. I told you you're in trouble. I'm reading the Constitution. So Dave will be treasurer, but we will have we'll get to that in just a minute, how that role will change and how we're going to he's going to share with those responsibilities. Okay. So he would still be the treasurer of the church, treasurer of the council, and an officer of the church. And he is not, if our process says he does not have to come to monthly meetings, that's fine. But he still needs to produce a monthly report and serve the function of treasurer on behalf of the church and the council. Is that clear to everybody? I got my fingers slapped by Pastor Sarah in a nice way. So, yeah. Is there any other questions about the candidates? Okay, are there any nominations from the floor? Are there any nominations from the floor? Two. For the council positions. I have to ask 3 times. Are there any other nominations from the floor? I will entertain a motion to close nominations. Move. No. Jean moved. All right. Jean made a motion to close nominations. Larry seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Oppo- They are open meetings, and y'all are welcome anytime you want. That's a great idea. Okay. I will entertain a motion to elect the slate of candidates as presented.
I make a motion to accept the slate of candidates as
To elect the state of, to elect the state of,
Slate of candidates as presented.
do I have a second? Second by, well, all right, second by Jean. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Okay. Nominating committee, which is also an elected position. They're all going, what? Yep. We need 2 positions for the nominating committee. They're 1-year terms. We need 2 candidates. I only have nominations from the floor. Is anybody? So the nominating committee helps next year fill the 3 vacancies that will be, I think, in the rotation. And they're not treasurer and they're not president, so it won't be so bad. Because I'm still on and treasurer's still on for them. So anybody volunteering? Okay, Brenda, one more. Can't be a council member. Brenda and Ron return as nominating committee. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? You, Kath? She says no. Okay. All those, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Audit committee, also an elected position. Surprise. I need 2 people, one serving 1 year and one serving 2 years. Right? So Sally cannot continue. So we need audit committee to review the books at the end of 2024 and present the audit committee report at next year's annual meeting. Do I have any volunteers? Okay, Rob Hahn.
Since I was sick this time,
Okay.
couldn't do it, I'll do it.
Okay, who's doing the 1 year, who's doing the 2 years? So, all right, you can fight it out. But you got to let me know once you fight it out, okay? All right, are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? I'll entertain a motion to elect Rob Hahn and John Semrad as audit committee for next year. All those in, any John Semrad. Moved by Jean. She wants to get out of here. And second by Sally Weiland. Okay, are there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, appointments. We don't have to vote anymore. So we have a new position. It's Treasurer Assistant Accounts Payable. Sue Kolaski has generously agreed to take over the checkbook. Yeah. So she keeps telling me it's just writing a couple checks. So Dave will be our treasurer. He will produce reports and take care of all of that business. And Sue will be our accounts payable person who will write checks. So if you have reimbursements, as soon as the transition is complete, and we'll let you know when that is because they've already had a couple of meetings, right? So they're beginning that process to transition. Jim is leaving the role completely, and then Sue and Dave are in the process of taking over. But once that transition is completed, if you have reimbursements, they would go to Sue or in Sue's mailbox, and she would take over reimbursing you for any expenses you have around here, which most of you don't ever put in for. We know who you are. March 1st? Okay, put the reimbursements and bills and such in Jim's mailbox until March 1st. I know. He thinks you're ready to fly. So we are hereby appointing Sue Kolaski as our Treasurer's Assistant for Accounts Payable. And then we need Synod delegates. I was going to write the date down. It's in May. Do you have it, Pastor?
I don't have it.
It is, Synod Assembly is May 17th and 18th. It's a Friday evening commitment and pretty much an all-day Saturday commitment on the 18th. We need 2 delegates, 2 positions, each serving 1-year terms. It's usually at the Italian Community Center, so lunch is usually pretty good. I'm just saying that. It's attending, and then if there's any church business that we need to know about, you got to bring that back. Vicky volunteers. Do I have another volunteer? Okay. I've never had people fight. Okay, so our synod delegates are going to be Vicky and Larry. All right, thank you. You are hereby appointed as synod delegates May 17th and May 18th. Put it on the calendar. Okay, financial reports. Treasurer's report. James.
First, I'd like to say thank you for trusting me with the books for all these years. Every time my term came up and there wasn't somebody to come, I'd remind Ron that my favorite sport was horse racing. And maybe it wasn't the smartest thing for the congregation to have me be involved. So, as far as the treasury for this year, I kind of put a little narrative in the report, which was kind of my way of analyzing the numbers, if you don't like to analyze the numbers and interpret them. But in the past year, we've retired the old spreadsheets for good, which was a good thing. And we're fully involved with Power Church going forward. This year also, which wouldn't normally be readily apparent, we introduced some things that we call e-giving, which is giving online, either through the website where there's a tab that says giving or give or donate, or the QR code. And we put an amount, not knowing how that was going to go, we put an amount in the budget last year of $5,000. We introduced those at Easter time, and we realized through that form of giving almost 10,000, so almost double. And if you split those 9 months in half, the second 4.5 months, the number of times people gave through the e-giving and the amount almost doubled the first 4.5 months. So there seems to be some momentum in people, whether it's members, visitors, to give that way. And hard to predict how that's going to go going forward, but it seems to have some momentum. And there's some new ways of e-giving that we could introduce in the coming year.
You can tell, right? I know we talked about this, but the secretary can tell if it was a member giving or I mean, if it was through the ACH or if it was through the QR code, right? They have that.
We asked that question to Sally, and Sally said the answer was yes. So last year, or prior to last year, the amount of giving that came through what I would call traditional ways, which was either cash or envelopes, was about 50% versus ACH giving or giving through automatic giving. It was about 50%. Now this year, through e-giving or the ACH automatic giving, it exceeds the traditional forms of giving. So it seems like, there's a transition to those ways of giving versus how we've given in the past. And then also, I've learned through seminars online through Vanco that younger people actually view e-giving as an invitation, that they don't carry checkbooks and they don't feel like they're invited to participate in the church when there isn't forms of giving where you can tap your credit card or go on a computer or the QR code. So it actually it might not seem like offering these type of things as an invitation, but it actually is. So, with that said, this past year, our revenue exceeded our projected budgeted revenue by about $20,000, and our expenses were under our projected expenses by about that same amount. So we realized a surplus of about $42,000, which is almost to exactly the same amount of money that we had deficits for in the last 2 years, within $100 is amazing. So it seems like a fresh start going forward into next year, because if you look at the last 3 years, we're just about even. And ironically, we have a new start with a pastoral change, so it's a good time to have a new start. So with all that said, I'd just like to open it up to any questions.
I have a question. On this giving site that we have, we have the general, the emergency, the capital, memorials, my question to you is, do you see, thinking about reorganizing the website a little bit better so we don't have all these additional pages which impacts our presence? Is there a preponderance that people do one or the other? Is there a ranking of how people are donating the money? Is it mostly just a general offering? And then you have maybe during the harvest, you have people put money towards the harvest? I guess, I don't know if you know those numbers or if those numbers are important.
Well, let me take a stab at it and see. So even though we were ahead of the game in this past year, so to speak, like $40,000-ish, our general fund giving was about flat. But the targeted giving or the designated giving, where people had choices to give to specific things, that is the majority of the surplus, where the opportunities for people to actually give towards something that they want to give to. So without the numbers exactly in front of me, but I put them in my report, I think it's about 188,000 was the amount we took in for general giving that went to the general fund. And if you look at the previous year, which would be 2022, it was like 187, so it was almost even. But the amount of targeted giving went way up. And that's probably because of more opportunities through the e-giving. People that e-give tend to be inspired by giving for a reason rather than giving to the general fund.
Is there a fee that we pay the Stanco for it? What is their percentage?
There is, it's 1-point-something%. So we pay that fee for the clearinghouse, where people are on automatic giving. If they give through the QR code of the website, they're given the opportunity to pay that fee as an extra. And I think that the giver did that 100% of the time last year. So the congregation didn't have to pay for the QR code fee or the.
One more question, I don't
Yep.
want to belabor it. So when I look at these other ones, are they significant amounts that come into that? I mean, if you look at like the bakery auction, which I outbid, you know who I'm just saying.
That should be off of there.
Do you see I guess my question is that, are all these pages necessary to highlight these smaller things?
That should be off.
Or could we do some more of some drop-down things?
Can I try that too?
Yeah, absolutely.
We can change those at any time. I actually have access to that under stewardship, so.
I guess.
Yeah, it's something, I admit I have not changed it for a while and we need to update it, but I will tell you, I know Harvest Fair and the bakery auction did get a lot of people just paying that way. So that was probably the biggest single item.
My point here is nothing to do with.
No, I'm
trying to
totally
think about
customizable.
our website has way too many pages. And I'm just trying to ask these questions because this is part of the we might be able
But
to word that better.
doesn't that link take you out to a page that's not a part of
Yeah,
it?
First you
right
come
to
to
the
Van,
Vanco site.
you think it's linking to Vanco, but it is actually, these are actually separate pages.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
that
That part I can't tell you.
yeah, so
I
that's
will tell you
that's the
that-
only thing. My question was just that.
Okay.
And we can get that answered down the question. The other question is with regard to giving, have you guys, have we ever, because we have so many slots, but have we ever had service sponsors for the church at all? In other words, I do HVAC and I want to appear in our program and it will cost you $1,500 a year to be in our program. Have you guys ever thought about
To
it?
be an announcement.
Yeah, to be in the announcements, service sponsorships, where they come in, they say here, and then if you need somebody,
No, we have not.
so a lot of churches do that. I was just at my church, the Wells Church that I grew up in, and they do that. They have a list of vendors available, and apparently these vendors pay to participate in those programs. Just curious if you guys ever thought about that? Is that outside the realm of what we should or shouldn't do? I don't know if that's in the rules or outside of the rules. Basically it is, but it could be a nice revenue generator. I don't know, I just don't think so. I think about dollars.
Yeah. I've never seen it in an ELCA church.
Restrictions regarding that?
Yeah, I don't,
Brenda?
I have a little bit of experience with that, Arlene, from having worked at the Seabrook Foundation, which funds ELCA Wells and Missouri Synod.
Yep, yep.
In general, the Wells has more of a philosophy that they want to support their own. And so they will encourage their members to do business with certain people who are also Wells members.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
a little bit at cross odds from the ELCA, where we have a much bigger tent and all of
That's
them.
exactly what they do, Brenda, but one of my former customers does that with, not the church where I was at, but he gets a lot of business, and it's worth every nickel that he drops. And he is a Wells member, and Wells is very cloistered. It's just a thought, and I don't mean to bring it up out of order or anything, but if we're looking at a little bit of a shortfall or we want to shore up our dollars, I thought maybe that could be an option, even if we just entertain a couple businesses and see how it works.
well, there's no bad ideas.
Yeah.
So like the back of my robe could have an advertisement on it?
We're gonna embroider your robe with,
A sandwich board out here.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions for Jim about the report for 2023? Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report for 2023. Moved by April, second by Anita. Okay, don't go far, Jim. All right, is there any discussion? We're fine. Is there any discussion? Okay, I think we pretty much hit the discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I left my notes. All right. Financial Secretary's reports, Sally Chappelle is not here.
I think there's one change.
There is one change. Sally?
Yeah, are you going to bring that up?
No.
After discretionary fund, there was something recorded incorrectly.
Oh, that change.
So it's actually, that amount was $3,000 less, and the other $3,000 was capital fund, building?
It went into the new fund for building expenses, high-ticket building expenses,
So that's just a change that came up after.
which we can talk about boilers in a minute if we want. Okay. Jim?
Just want to say that didn't change the dollar amount.
No. It's just the location of that $3,000 in two different places.
At the request of a specific one.
Right, because of an error. Okay. And then there's always a little bit of difference between the financial secretary's report numbers and Jim's numbers, and I just don't ever know why that is. They do reconcile. They're very, very close. Okay. Audit committee report. Sally.
You know, I think, well, it was submitted, so I don't know if you guys had a chance to see it, but, I will thank Ben Olson, who, when I called him and asked him if he would fill in for John, he accepted and stepped up, and we were able to go through the books on a Monday night, well, during the dart ball tournament. Records are really in good order. Both Sally and Jim are very organized, have everything well documented. We didn't have any issues other than already known issues with little quirks in power church, which were immaterial, and we already knew about them. So, big thank you to both of those guys. I know it's a lot of work, and we really appreciate how easy they made our job.
Who are the people involved?
In the audit, that would have been me and Ben Olson.
Ben stepped in because John was sick. Okay? Are there any questions about the audit report? Okay. Presentation of the 2024, it says 2023 budget. Boy, that's wrong. It should say the presentation. See, that's why we adopted the agenda with flexibility. The presentation of the 2024 budget. Is there anybody who would like, we published a summary form. The Power Church has 6 or 5 or 4 different ways to publish the budget. So we published a summary form in the packets, in the report. But for those of you who love numbers and details, we have about about 10 left of the more detailed copies of the budget. Is there anybody who'd like one of those? No one? Okay, we printed 10 too many. All right. So Jim, you want to talk about budget, please?
So this year's budget was much easier to predict on the expense side than the revenue side. The expenses, we had a budget of just under $217,000 last year. And we're projecting just about $210,000 going forward. Most of the money that we were under budget for last year could be explained almost in entirety from having a pastoral vacancy. So we expect to have those expenses going forward in 2024. The revenue side was a little bit harder to project because of a lesser response from the pledges. And then because of that, we kind of did a repledge, and the response was a little bit better, but it caused us to do a little bit more analysis on trends and guesswork. So what we've come up with is projected income of, or revenue from all sources of just under $219,000, which compares to what we actually took in last year of $241,000. And we budgeted $202,000. No. Yes. So,
Yes.
So if you consider that amount of revenue projected, less the amount of revenue expenses projected, and consider that we have about $17,000 liability for our mortgage, we're proposing a budget deficit of $7,900. in 2024.
Other questions? Brenda?
One question, has the council had any discussion of any kind of a drive to pay off the existing mortgage and be prepared for, funding some aspect of our master campus plan?
We have not had that discussion. We probably should. The mortgage is scheduled to be paid off January of 2026.
January 1st.
January 1st, 2026.
So it's coming up.
We have 2 years left on that. Are there any questions? Concerns? We've passed bigger budget deficits before. And the other thing is we don't really know, there are expenses, there are certain expenses we know of. There are some expenses, i.e. a new pastor and what that salary will be, that we don't know. So we're budgeting based on if Pastor Steve continues at his level of education and years of experience, we're to continue as our pastor through the whole next year. He keeps telling me that's not going to happen.
The other thing I'd like to mention is we took in revenue last year, almost 242,000 from all sources. And it's unlike the expense side where the amount that was under was explainable. We haven't been able to explain that because we did have a pastoral vacancy. It happened during summer. You would expect that maybe the revenue would have gone down, but it didn't. It kept chugging along. It was like, we don't really know how to explain how we did so well
I
last
can
year.
explain it. These people are wonderful.
Yeah, it's probably prayers and divine intervention.
It shows
God
a
provided.
real good, it shows a solid commitment to this ministry. And for that, we are all very grateful.
Yeah. We didn't consider the prayers and all the goodness in next year's budget.
No. So there will probably be some.
Pat?
How much is
The mortgage, you know what, I don't remember, but it's in my report.
It's, yeah.
It's like 30-something. 35, something.
That was 32,000 or something like that.
36,000.
Yeah, I think that's one.
2 years left on it, 17 grand this year and the rest the year after that. And the interest rate's pretty darn low, I think.
Yeah, the interest rate would be a lot higher if we refinanced, so
Right.
keep that in mind.
Okay, are there any other questions? Concerns? I will entertain a motion to adopt the budget as presented. Vicky moved to adopt the budget. Second by Ron. Is there any more discussion? All those people of faith in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, I lost my notes again. Here they are. New business, very quickly. So the campus plan. Knowing what general bids are and how the amount exceeds what council can expend, the amount exceeds the $2,000 that council can spend that is not budgeted. I would like to at least discuss with this group, or maybe consider a motion to authorize council to fund or fundraise, however you all want to do it, to pay for the land assessment and campus design. We could do it, we can discuss, I'd like to discuss, I mean, there's lots of options. We have undesignated memorials. We could fund 100% of it. We're looking at the bid that's really, the one we is probably going to go with is $3,600, just so you all have a number. And so So that would be, they came down in their price for the land audit, and they can start that right away in March, and then it has to continue into spring because they have to look at our land during the growing season, and then working with us through the summer and into wherever to develop a plan. So we're looking at that amount, so we could fund it that way. We could fundraise a portion of it, since you all like to give to something. We just talked about that. We could fundraise a portion of it. We could fundraise the whole thing. We could, I'm just gonna throw some options out first, and then I'll open the floor. We could fundraise half of it and match dollar for dollar out of undesignated memorials. I'm looking for direction from this body. So, Anita.
I was just wondering, this one you talked about, the 3,600 one, that's the one that gives us the option of implementing it as
Yes,
we go along.
that is to do the design so that we would own the design and we can implement it as we can afford it. Yes. I have no idea. How much do we have in undesignated memorials? Do you have an idea? It's like 10? More than that? Right, Jim's gonna look. While Jim looks, Brenda?
I'll tell you just a comment, I would advocate that we, authorize council to expend that money, and we do it on raise half and dollar for dollar from an undesignated memorial, because I think there's some value in having buy-in from those of us who are in the pews now.
Are you making a motion?
I am making a motion.
Good, then we can have a discussion. It's moved by Brenda that we fundraise half of the expense of the campus plan and land audit. And that we use undesignated memorials as a dollar for dollar match for the remainder. Okay, so now we can have a discussion about that. Who wants to say what? No, we don't have a second, you're right. Second by Anita. Okay, moved by Brenda, second by Anita. April, do you have that? Okay, I always just want to check in. I'm just checking. All right, I got your back, girl. All right, yes.
The total amount in the memorial fund is $18,712.
Okay,
The majority of that is undesignated.
yes.
I don't have the detail. I think about a 2/3, 1/3.
Yeah, I think that's safe. Yeah.
How else is that undesignated memorial used?
It sits there until we need it.
What kinds of things?
This kind of thing. I mean, when we have an expense that we don't, that we don't budget for. Usually for something physical, we don't take it to pay the bills. For some project or some effort on behalf of the congregation, usually.
Here's the only thing I have to say about adopting the plan, which I think is a great idea. But I also think if you adopt this plan, that you should have a schedule of how you intend to implement step by step. Because otherwise, if you just adopt the plan with no foresight down the road, how you're gonna go from A to B to C to D, the plan will just become literally a waste of money.
Right.
So I love the idea of the plan, I think that's great, but I think that whomever has got to think from A to B to C, what are we gonna do first, what are we gonna do second, what are we gonna do third, and how we will put those
Yeah.
funds together for that.
And we've already had some of those discussions, so yeah. Well, we've talked about that we do want to have a graduated implementation. We haven't really set priorities yet, right? But we've had the discussion. Right, yeah. Okay, any more discussion? Mary?
I'm glad this is being discussed, because it's been a concern of mine, because we have a lot of memorials from some prominent people in the congregation,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't seem to go anywhere
Right.
for a long time.
Right.
So happy to see that master plan
Yep.
be implemented. Will they be given credit for each memorial and their contribution somewhere along the way?
We'll certainly be putting plaques on things. Yeah. Larry?
I'm just trying to understand, so this costs $3,600.
Probably, yeah. Yep.
Just trying to get the numbers.
Yep.
We have $2,000 already budgeted for that?
Nope, we have nothing budgeted for it.
Okay, because I
We have we have a $500 donation already received.
So we have 30.27.
Yes.
So from the motion, I understand of that, I'm just going to say $3,000. So if we raise $1,500, the other $1,500 is going to come from the memorial.
That's the way the motion stands, yes.
Is it coming from undesignated or from?
Yes.
Not, what about the memorial
Those are going to be saved for
for
construction.
the actual construction?
That's how I feel about it. We haven't talked about it as a council. I'm speaking on behalf of the larger group for which we have not discussed this. I'm sorry. But my inclination would be that we're not spending money donated, I'll just say, by Andy Toth in Sue's memory. We're not spending that on the plan. We're spending that on building something in her memory.
And obviously, there's enough money in undesignated memorials, we could just fund it. But the motion is based on the philosophy that those of us alive now in the pews need to have some buy-in to the plan.
I agree with that.
The memorial fund will go further if we do that.
Right. And then let me throw one more thing in there. Just for a point of discussion. When we raised money to build this room that we're standing in right now, and we raised money to buy the landscaping that we're now ripping out 25 years ago, we had a first fruits offering that was made out of those funds that was given to a benevolent cause. I would propose that we do that again. I think we did 3%, possibly. Does anybody remember? I think we did 3%. I'm getting some nods, so that my brain might be right on that. So that we are raising money, but yet we are also recognizing as good people of faith that there is joy in giving, and that some of that money, we do need this money for us, but yet some of that money could go forward. I guess I would at this point leave it to the council's discretion as where that benevolence might go. I have some ideas, but we can talk about that later. I want to put that out there as an issue and let people know whether we should be considering an amendment to the motion as it stands.
The other kind of thing to bring up as well, the design permit we're looking at, they're not requiring any money down, they're not requiring
Right.
anything until the project's complete, until we've accepted two of the designs. So they're very open to working with us.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we shouldn't have a plan
Right.
in terms of going forward, so I like the framework. But I think the good news is that they've demonstrated with other churches that even if they're done with the project, that they'll still continue to work on some kind of a payment schedule. But I like what we're doing in terms of laying out the framework, but we have a partner who is saying that, hey, if you want us to begin work, we will begin work, and we will not require any payment until the project is done.
Yeah, and they're ready to start in March.
Oh, okay, I'm just gonna tax, since Dave Chanel said it was 5%.
5%?
He's treasurer.
He was treasurer. I was president the last time, and Dave was my treasurer last time. It's like history repeats itself.
Can I revise my, motion to include a 5% benevolence component?
A 5% first fruits benevolence.
Leave it to the discretion of the council on worthy recipients.
You can revise your motion if the person who seconded it will accept the friendly amendment. Who seconded her motion? Okay. So you get that? Okay. So we will include, in addition to fundraising for half the total, a 5% first fruits benevolence to be given to whom to be determined by the council. Okay. So we're gonna raise $1,600 or whatever, half for the plan. We're gonna if we need that $1,600, we gotta raise another 5%, because 5% of that money from what we have raised from the fundraising is going to go to benevolence somewhere. We're going to give it away. It's the tithe concept, but it's not. It's a tithe concept, but it's not 10%. It's $80, yeah.
But Tom, it's gonna be a new offer, you're gonna do a campaign.
We will do some kind of a campaign to raise the money, yes. All right, any other questions? Jim? Right.
And like we've mentioned before, the mortgage is gonna sunset
Right,
in less than 2 years.
right,
And there's gonna be over $1,500 that's already part of our regular giving
right,
that could go each month.
right. So when we get to expensing the building of the actual project, we would hopefully have this place paid off or darn close to it, so. Yes,
Just clarification on the first fruits, is that first fruits of the half of the thing? Or
of the fundraised portion, yes. Yeah. Yep. I have a request to call the vote. All those in favor, is there any objection? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. You got your money, dude. All right. And then the last thing I have for new business, I promise. I just wanted to have a really quick discussion. Ron alluded to that there's a separate sign committee. We're really looking at a new sign for the corner. I think it's really important that it be an electronic sign, that we can put things out there about what we're doing here so that people who drive by know what we are and who we are and what we do. So I just wanted to have a little discussion about what goes on the sign, with the understanding that we are not changing the name of this church. I am seeking your opinions about having the sign say, with an updated logo, Resurrection ELCA. Like when I go by Gethsemane Lutheran Church in Brookfield, it says Gethsemane ELCA. Or it could say Resurrection, or it could say Resurrection Church. It could say whatever, but it would not necessarily, on the permanent part of the sign, say Resurrection Lutheran Church. One of the things that flashes through the electronic board could say an expanded Resurrection Lutheran Church, but the actual sign would say Resurrection ELCA or something similar. Are there objections to that approach? Discussions that we should have? Just as a matter of visually having a sign that's cleaner and inviting and says here we are, you know, the less that's on it, the easier it is to read, all of those things. And just a way of updating and refreshing, and maybe some of those people, I mean, I don't think it's deceptive, because when people go to our website, which will be on the flashing electronic part of the sign, they're going to see on our website Resurrection Lutheran Church. Just like when you go to Gethsemane, it says Gethsemane Lutheran Church. But it might get people who go by to go, oh, let's take a look at that church.
I've noticed that many Lutheran churches have their name, like if it's Resurrection, and they're a different synod, they have their synod logo on it.
Right,
People that are familiar with their synod will know the logo.
right. Yeah, so we're looking at something like that. So, right. Okay.
Well, the sign that you guys are considering, or that the committee's looking at.
We have no design yet.
We haven't.
No.
So I think you need to get some questions answered about how much content could go on the sign.
Right.
That's number one. Whether you're doing a dot matrix or more of a OLED sign. That's the first question, and I think that will dictate some of the answers of what that content can be. Because some of them, the thing you don't want to do when you look at a billboard when you're driving down the street, there isn't a lot of content on those billboards.
Right.
It's usually the name and the website, or one called That's All.
Right. No kidding,
So,
right?
you know, I mean, I think you gotta get that answer before you talk about
Agreed, agreed, yeah,
There is restrictions for New Berlin, about where the sign can be placed,
right,
and, it can't be like flashing.
right,
It can be scrolling, but there's restrictions about what kind of
okay.
display you can have, and I know it
All right.
also has to display the address.
So the purpose of this discussion right now is just to get the congregation's input about the permanent part of the sign. Are we all okay with that? Okay.
I like the direction you're headed, first of all, but I would like to introduce a motion to leave the approval of the final design of the sign up to council. You cannot design.
By committee, okay. Okay, moved by Brenda.
I think people should have a right to have an input on this signage.
But then, can they be part of the, can they be on the committee then, and then they
Yeah,
go?
I think what you need to do is make sure that whatever you're gonna do from the committee, that you present it to the.
Okay, wait a minute. I do not have a second. Sorry.
I would second that.
Okay, you're seconding Brenda's, okay, now, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said I disagree.
Right.
I think it, and I do understand your, Brenda, what you're saying about the designing by committee, but I also think that the constituency has a right to look at what your intentions are. And if they have concerns, that they are allowed to express that rather than just leave the committee to make its decision. That becomes very cloistered
I kind of concur, and I guess I would think that any design that we come up with would definitely go before the larger group. Yeah.
Just to clarify, I didn't say council couldn't show the design.
Right, but the final decision,
The final decision
right,
would be council.
okay.
that I would assume. I'm sorry if I misinterpreted. I apologize, Brenda, if I misinterpreted.
All right, is there any other discussion? Do we have a vote on that motion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. Is there anybody else that has any new business? Dan?
I didn't put it on the agenda, just to let everybody know, we had a committee, a small committee, Brad Nelson, Jim Benson, Dick Hinsey, and Mark Poco, if I got that right. Okay, what we did is we studied all the equipment, all the furnaces, all the water heaters, everything, boilers, the lawnmower, and went through and said, how long will they last? And we got professional opinions on some of them. And what we came up with is, like our furnaces in here, they're 20 years old, but we put together also a maintenance plan that was approved by the council. So we got a company comes in, checks the furnace once a year and the air conditioners, and let us know how they're doing. And also, like the lawnmower, we have it analyzed by John Deere every year. And what came out of this whole thing was the major items that we need to look at, and that's probably a separate meeting, whatever. But, is the roof, because we had the roof analyzed. If you ever look up there, there's some shingles of different color. They've been flying off there. We had, Jim, I think you had somebody come in, or who was it? And we found out that it was thick about, they didn't nail all the shingles on right, whoever built the roof. That's where they fly off eventually. So we need to do something in the next couple years here.
Right.
Next thing was the parking lot. As you all can see, it's cracking. And we looked at a couple options of just repairing those holes or doing it the right way, because the problem out there is the flow of the water. It all comes in certain areas, like down here and over here, and it just keeps cracking. So that's another thing we need to look at. That'll be coming up. We said that should be done in the next couple of years.
Right.
Looking at the parking lot, looking at the roof. Because those are items that we could have damage if we don't do something to shingles eventually. Or the.
You have to replace the roof or just repair the roof?
We're probably gonna have to replace the roof.
Yeah.
Because the shingles were not put on properly when we built the
Right.
church. I don't know why. But there's only one nail instead of three, holding the shingle.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave piecemeal to
Right.
Tom and so forth, but those are some things to consider, because they could be very large expenditures.
Yeah, and we've established a not a capital fund, it's a fund for large ticket building expenses. So there's money in that. People have already given to that, and we will continue to look at, we'll probably put that on as an option for e-giving going forward, because we are going to have some expenses. Part of having a building like this is paying for upkeep, so we all realize that, because we have that for our
Talking
homes.
about a lot of money.
Right,
I think
it
we
is.
look at the roof, to be replaced the roof, because we need to probably take all the shingles off, put new
Yeah.
on, about $30,000.
$30,000, yeah, yeah.
At least,
So,
and then the
And the parking lot,
parking lot is a lot bigger. If you
Yeah.
want to repair the parking lot, you'd probably pay $20,000. If you want to do it right, so it doesn't do what it's doing now,
it's almost 60.
$64,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a big expenditure eventually in the future.
Right,
But we need to put that someplace in the plan.
right,
When we should be.
right.
What's that? GoFundMe account. See what happens.
Okay, is there anybody?
I should have put it on the agenda, sorry, Tom.
No, it's okay. It's good to let people know those things.
Did a lot of work on it.
There's always something, as part of the transition process, they did a really thorough evaluation of the building and the grounds, and we are in pretty good shape now with, we've had a couple of repairs to the boiler, which we budgeted for this year, and we have an additional repair that has to happen to the venting for the boiler, which is why some of the electronic components of the boiler got shot and needed to be replaced and cost us some money. So we are trying to be good stewards of this place. And going forward, there will be some high-ticket expenses coming. So we need to keep those things in mind as well. Is there any other concerns? Sure.
With the design, are they thinking of maybe making the parking lot bigger, because that would affect, you know?
It's one of the things we've talked about. Yeah. Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn after pastor's closing prayer. All right, reminder, council members, there will be a brief, very, very brief meeting right here after this meeting adjourns to elect people to their current positions. I have a move by John Immel to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second by Cindy. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Pastor.
Thank you, Lord, for the good work that you accomplished through these people. Bless us now as we go home. Be with our families and our loved ones and all of us as a congregation. In Jesus' name, amen.
The council, please.